What's up, everybody? It's Ed, your average Joe racer, with a special 411 on fifth scale report. If your racetrack is anything like the local track in Fremont, California, these things are starting to take over. They're fun to drive, not as expensive to get in a large scale as your standard STC cars, and relatively easy to maintain. So let's talk about that elephant in the room. Short disclaimer: the following comments are my opinion and supplied to help you make your own decision about the versions of these cars. The MCD XR5 rally car. From having my arm twisted by a certain Mr. Tony Vega of the Rams Club in Fremont, California, I decided to get one of these. I wanted something I could just put on the track, drive, and have fun. So I took this on as a test. There are three variations of the car, all varying in price from $13.99 to $25.99. I decided to go with the Pro version, which is the mostly composite model. And we'll get into the comparisons in a moment, as this video is going to focus on the suspension components and not the drivetrain, which can vary by model. So, all I did to the car was pull it out of the box, install the radio, the motor, and lower it for the tarmac. Took it to the track, and the car was immediately competitive. After a 25-minute race, with this being the first time out, I finished fourth, less than a second out of third. So the car passed the first test, competitive out of the box. So when I got home, I decided to go through it just to see how good or bad the setup actually was. So after looking at everything, I was surprised the car drove as well as it did, which means the car is very forgiving. The only thing noticeable was on a couple of left-hand turns, the radius seemed wider than the right turns. So let's just say the setup was way off. With all that said, the car was very easy to drive. So for a complete write-up of everything that was done in more detail, because I want to kind of keep this short and sweet, you can go to the link that's posted, and you'll get a better understanding of everything that was done to the car and things that happened at the track. As we go forward, feel free to pause the video to take a closer look at some of the comparison pictures that are going to be shown. So, second race weekend. After 15 minutes of practice and 5 minutes into the qualifier, the pinion gear came off. So make a note to yourself, when you're mounting the engine, take that pinion nut off, put some Loctite on it, and retighten it. Another note: when you're pulling the engine plate off, do not attempt to unscrew it from the bottom. There are 3 nuts on the top that you need to unscrew, and it lifts right off. We've heard about people breaking tools trying to screw it from the bottom. So keep that in mind. So after 7 minutes into the second qualifier and some light rubbing is racing with another car, I noticed a wobble in the left front tire. The left takes most of the load on the local track, and after inspection, there was play with the bearings in the hub carrier. So we now have our list for our first set of upgrades that are going to go on the car, and I'll report on how that's worked out on the next time. So for now, our $13.99 car is now up to $16.47, but it's still less than the FTR. So if you want to stick with the composite parts on the MCD, they have made it very affordable to keep spares to keep you running. Most of the suspension parts are less than $20 US, and some are packaged as pairs, so you get one front and one rear piece, and those are usually less than $40. So let's compare the cars. From the chart, you can see everything that is listed in blue is composite, and everything in yellow is alloy. And let's look at the chassis. So you can see from the Pro to the Ultimate, the evolution of the lack of composite. And let's look at the front end. This gives you a pretty good view of what your selections are with the car. So if you decide to stick with the composite, there's some items I suggest you have as spares when you head to the track. Front and rear lower arms, wheel nuts, hub pins, especially hub pins, because if you lose a wheel nut and the hub comes off, there's a pretty good chance you're going to lose that pin. And trust me, they aren't easy to find. And the only thing I definitely recommend, as I said, most of this is suggestions, is replacing the upper ball linkage on the front end with the alloy. So before we sign off, the West Coast National and Rams Memorial Race is the weekend of July 19th. Try to make that if you can. We're looking at having a pretty good turnout for that with some people from all over the country and some outside of the country. So I hope this has been helpful. And if you are in an area of the Fremont track, look up Orange Springs Raceway or the Rams RC Club on Facebook. Stop by the track on a practice or race day. They don't bite. And I'm sure they'll be glad to answer any questions you might have about the car or getting into the sport. Until next time, see ya.